very unpopular opinion here, but that you can solicit murder, murder for hire, incite murder, commit murder, and that all equals first degree premeditated murder, same as the act of actually carrying out murder. Murder doesn't mean that you shot the bullet that killed the person, or you stabbed the knife that killed the person, or that you blew the person up. It could be putting poison in somebody's drink and that person drinking it and therefore dying, even though you're removed from the act of actually physically doing it to somebody. Murder for hire and soliciting somebody else to commit murder is first degree premeditated murder. Gypsy Rose Blanchard, unpopular opinion, but the fact that in Missouri she can get the plea deal of a lifetime to testify against somebody who is extremely autistic, and that she solicited for murder, carried it out, and that she can get out in 8 years. Not only is that against all of their laws, and I understand the abuse part, but that doesn't make it okay. It doesn't make her acts okay. It doesn't mean that any of it is absolvable, because you can't be absolved of murder. The problem is the punishment. The punishment doesn't fit the crime. She doesn't get to be absolved because her mother was abusive to her to some degree. Murder is still not okay. It's not only not okay, but the fact that she gets to get out in 8 years and continue on doing the same exact thing she was doing that got her into trouble in the first place. Talking to strange men, sexting with strange men, going online, writing, texting, emailing, sending pictures, nude pictures, videos, all of that to strange men. For Christ's sakes, she married somebody she doesn't even fucking know. That's weird. Instead of rehabilitating and actually focusing on herself and her future, she's completely jumping right into another codependent relationship with a strange man. That's weird. That's really fucking weird. And that's not even proving that she's not incorrigible anymore, that she's rehabilitated, that she's better. Because how can you ever be better from something like that? This is not a fixable crime. This is not something that you can ever come back from. Ever. This. And that is no way, shape, or form to undermine the amount of abuse that she really did suffer at the hands of her mother. But Godejohn was not the first or only person that she told. So the whole story of telling the authorities scared her because she knew that they weren't going to believe her and that she had to resort to murder is a lie, because she told several men over the course of 2 years that she was speaking to online and on dating websites what her mother had been doing to her. She had solicited more than one person for murder of her mother. And she told several friends as well. So that excuse doesn't fly, especially because she did run away twice, and she did get away with it, but she's not telling you about that second time. Now I know this is a bad joke, but anybody that has more than one kid, do you have a cabinet that looks exactly like this? And unfortunately, all this stuff has medicine in it, so it doesn't look like all this is empty bottles that should be in the trash. There really is no excuse for this shit, honestly. Like, I have 5 kids and I don't ever have my shit looking like this. Hell no. This is really the part that bothers me the most, because my heart, my mind, my soul does feel for Gypsy. But there's also something that tells me that she hasn't been completely honest. Even in the new docuseries that she is pushing to people, and the audiobook and all the interviews that she's doing for money, monetizing her crime, trying to play it off as she is rehabilitated, that she's better, that she is bettering herself, that she wants to go on to raise awareness. She didn't kill her mom because of self-defense for the abuse. The abuse was egregious. It was horrible. I couldn't imagine how long it's going to take her, if not the rest of her life, to learn to cope with that. But the first things first, she was not taught anything in prison, and she didn't get adequate therapy because she didn't learn the hard lesson that you need to focus on yourself. Know yourself. to have time to yourself before you can give to another person in a relationship. But she's still that sex obsessed, boy obsessed mentality that she would actually marry somebody who she doesn't even know in real life. And the fact that she doesn't have people in her life telling her, hey, you have all the time in the world to get married. You have all the time in the world to date, to get to know this person. What is the rush? You know, maybe you should really get out of prison and focus on you, focus on doing good, not this never-ending press tour and all of these interviews. And something doesn't sit right with me with a lot of the things she said in 3 different interviews throughout her 8 years that she was in prison. There's a lot of contradictions there that really bother me. Her attitude towards Nicholas Godejohn, that really bothers me because she has absolutely no remorse where she should have remorse the most. And the fact that she says, he served his time, I served mine. Yeah, but you shouldn't have been allowed to take a plea deal. They wanted to save millions of dollars because they thought that there's no way a jury would convict her because of the abuse story, clouding everything in their mind and making them biased, that they couldn't possibly bring a trial against her and charges against her, go through a trial, and not end up with a hung jury or not guilty verdict altogether. So they offered her a plea deal. But she shouldn't have been allowed to testify against Nick Godejohn. That right there was the most miscarriage of justice that I've ever seen. And she does take some accountability for the fact that she did ask him to do it. But she didn't take into accountability all the circumstances that she laid out and manipulated to get him to agree to that. It was 2 years in the making. It wasn't just a sudden, oh, I love you, let's run off together, you're going to be my knight in shining armor. No, she was trying to force him to be the knight in shining armor. And that doesn't really sit right with me. The docu-series has 2 more episodes dropping tonight after midnight, and then tomorrow night after midnight as well. So 2 on the 5th, 2 on the 6th, 2 on the 7th. And you can watch them on Sling TV or Hulu Live. I obviously am not going to pay for it, but I did watch the first 2 episodes. And there's quite a few things in there that she's saying now that she didn't say before. And I know that there's secrets that they want you to think, new details that are coming out, things that you have never heard about the case before. They're trying to amplify the monetization of this because the docuseries, the audio recordings, the audiobook, all of that stuff was pre-planned to coincide and correlate with her release date so they can maximize the amount of money. There's also something that tells me that Gypsy and Ryan, her husband specifically, has already been plotting a podcast and a YouTube channel. Because when she was released and they celebrated New Year's Eve, a couple days after her release, you see in the background, there's a neon sign that says Gypsy and Ryan. Just like a lot of YouTubers have behind them, where however they set up their little room for their YouTube videos. Which tells me that her husband and her have been planning that for a while. And I'm sorry, but nobody wants to hear what the fuck he's got to say. I don't know you, Ryan. You know, go do your job. You have absolutely nothing to do with her crime, her prison sentence, her past life. And nobody wants to hear what you got to say. It's irrelevant. Go be with her and be the best person that you could be for her. And be a true, honest, and good husband and friend and person, spouse that you can be to her. The best thing for her is not putting her out in the spotlight, doing interviews, making money off of her crime. I think all of that could backfire. And it's not going to work unless she is actually going to be honest, which she has not been. This, unfortunately, confirms all of my suspicions that she is still sex and boy obsessed. Because she insinuates that all these people are hating on her husband due to the sheer fact that they all want to fuck her. I don't get the meaning behind that. I think it's that people are legitimately mad that a murderer gets to get out in 8 years when she's the sole purpose of the murder.